Long ago, Doom was ready to evolve as it barreled into the next generation of consoles. The exhilarating FPS action landscape had changed into a heavier, more grounded world of militaristic machismo. After bending genres and pushing technological boundaries in the past, Doom was no stranger to change. Doom 3 already deviated from its roots to march directly into oncoming fan backlash. The tides of change may not have rocked the boat for the Doom Slayer, but it did for the Doom player. Fans didn't play Doom to be scared. They played to feel empowered. A feeling almost impossible to comprehend without some kind of double-barreled boomstick. That's what Doom 3 needed. In response, Doom would change again, this time looking to ride the waves already seized by the new kids on the FPS block. Maybe switching to the horror genre was too big of a departure, but evolving with the FPS genre could attract new fans and appease the old at the same time. What if Doom was more macho, more militaristic, more grounded and heavy? What if Doom checked all the scripted, spectacle-driven boxes shooter fans demanded during the 7th console generation? What if Doom was, I don't know, just like Call of Duty? I wonder if the original Doom 4 would have pissed fans off more than Doom 3 did. Luckily, Doom was no stranger to change. After recognizing that this wasn't working internally, id Software was willing to change it all over again, to embrace modern sensibilities without sacrificing Doom's fast-paced power fantasy roots. And thus, Doom 2016 was born. A breath of fresh air that defied the controversial Hollywood-chasing ties that bound the FPS genre for almost 2 console generations. A visionary sequel so groundbreaking, it jump-started the boomer shooter genre that indie shooters still can't escape from. So with all this critical, commercial, and historical success, what did they do next? They changed again. Doom Eternal became my 2020 Game of the Year. It became one of my favorite shooters of all time. It even became a thorn in the side of the average Doom 2016 fan. Eternal was faster, meaner, demandinger, turning the average FPS battlefield into a death-defying skate park, producing a non-stop state of flow. Doom 2016 was high-octane attitude, but Doom Eternal was ruthless aggression. Some die-hard Doom fans couldn't keep up, complaining about strict resource management that punished players for not using every single tool in the Doom Slayer's arsenal. Every weapon was an answer to a specific enemy problem, and Doom Eternal made players show their work. I don't blame anybody for wanting to stick themselves inside the comforting goop of the past, but Doom set its non-existent iron sights on the future, ready to blast its way into the next generation. As time went on, Doom Eternal's naysayers went quiet, while more and more FPS fans flocked to this game, becoming addicted to its adrenaline junkie shooting demands. Eternal's brutal ballet of problem solving became the revolutionary blueprint for shooters like Shadow Warrior 3 or Turbo Overkill. Changing the game allowed Doom Eternal to live up to its namesake. So what did they do next? Doom the Dark Ages begins by making it incredibly clear to the Doom player, this game is not Doom Eternal. The intro cutscene dishes out a lore dump, taking twice as long as Eternal did to grant players control of the Doomslayer. A shooter once proud of its general walk speed now introduces a sprint button before requesting any demons to be torn apart. It refuses to explain mechanics inside something as old school as a tutorial zone that would risk breaking immersion. No longer are the environments treated like obvious video game levels. Wide open level design with a greater sense of plausibility replaces the usual tight overlapping arenas found in Eternal. Traditional glory kills are gone. Let me repeat that one. Traditional glory kills are gone, stripped down to introduce proper melee weapons that prove just as deadly as guns in this first-person shooter. Why else would they give the Doom Slayer a shield if they didn't want Doom players constantly within melee range? There's more build-up to the action with Spectacle taking center stage. The tutorial culminates in a turret section against demon giants, for Christ's sake.
Eternal never operated like this.
Doom Eternal never had to rely on cinematic blockbuster presentation to win over the audience. It was a video game-ass video game, and it knew that. The Dark Ages goes big on spectacle in an attempt to spice up the Doom experience. If it isn't done with lavish skyboxes, it is done through sparse dragon and mech sections. Neither mission type comes anywhere close to the complexity of the main missions. Dragon combat is too rigid and restrictive to be compelling, and the mech levels are aggressively linear punch-em-ups, but at least the mech serves its purpose with the right kind of punchiness. This level philosophy reminds me of all the AAA action game power fantasies you'd find on the PS3 or 360. So many gruff white men. So many late 2000s action movie tropes. Back when a game like Dante's Inferno would rely on epic scale to compensate for any gameplay shortcomings. A time where every shooter thought level variety meant adding vehicles and turret sections. It's like the Doom Call of Duty clone that people feared the 2016 reboot would become. Now arriving at a time when people are nostalgic for that era, which somehow works in its own special way. Harkening back to the most cool guy game for cool guys that every bro would have lying on top of their Xbox 360 inside their Madden 09 case and call it badass without ever hitting credits. The problem? After releasing two of the most refreshing FPS games of their respective years, the changes made to the Dark Ages don't excite or inspire in the same way. I appreciate them trying something different from the prior two, but it initially feels soulless and safe for looking too hard at what has been done before. Doom Eternal makes you feel like you can fly, but in Doom the Dark Ages, the crushing weight of gravity always keeps you down. The Doom Slayer now lands with a thud, destroying fodder enemies around him with satisfying results. But the double jump has disappeared, dropping Eternal's high-flying antics. Verticality replaced with horizontality. Jumping as you sprint is the only way to get any air below the boots. It adds to the wrecking ball nature of this game's Doom Slayer. But piloting the high-flying jet engine that was the Doom Slayer from Eternal kept the player on their toes for much longer, ironically. Sticking to the ground, on the lookout for parryable attacks, rewards players who slow down their approach and wait for enemies to make the first move. That's not what Doom is all about. Doom Eternal lets me drink Red Bulls and stay up till midnight, Dad. The Doom Slayer's heightened durability in the Dark Ages successfully turns him into a walking tank, but capturing this lumbering tank feel slows down the pacing. Actions like switching weapons now takes longer to complete, which often leads to gameplay hiccups when Doom players can react faster than the Doom Slayer, or even the game itself. The result is a harder hitting FPS game that isn't as responsive as its predecessors. Slower speeds and minimal aerial mobility is not to my Doomer shooter liking, but I finally saw why all those changes were necessary once I got comfortable with the Dark Ages' flashy new tool, the Shield Saw. This weapon is the bread to the butter Doom calls guns. Parrying with the shield obliterates the competition, but it doesn't stop there. The shield saw can block heavy fire, slingshot the Slayer into an enemy's face with ease, cut through hordes of enemies like they are butter, stun lock tougher enemies for a short amount of time. It can even solve puzzles, brains and bronze. Doom Eternal created a tailored toolbox of weaponry so players always had the right tool for the job. Doom the Dark Ages forges the ultimate Swiss Army knife, then tells everyone it's a shield. It's the highlight of the entire game. Each shield upgrade builds and builds the combat complexity, crafting perfect pairings for every weapon. The super shotgun softens enemy armor so the shield can break them to pieces. The shield ricochets machine gun bullets to shred through nearby enemies. Gun upgrades allow the shield's parry to protect the Doomslayer and boost specific properties of guns at the same time, combining offense and defense into one destructive tool that slowly won me over by the end. I may not be rapidly swapping weapons on the fly like them good old days, but the stand and fight gameplay mentality granted by the shield saw makes the entire game feel tailor-made for my favorite Doom weapon, the super shotgun. Shotguns are to shooters what great swords are to Souls-likes. It's all about hitting hard no matter the compromise, knowing that every direct hit means something. The super shotgun is the epitome of that. It's somehow more gratifying here than even Doom Eternal. Shield bashing became my stinger, demolishing any distance the enemy had to perfectly set up my boomstick for the most stance-shattering shots. There's a rhythm to the shotgun and shield combo that's elevated by impeccable sound design to deliver us Doom by way of revengeance. Peppering as many shotgun blasts as I could get away with in between shield parries felt like landing the ultimate 1-2 punch, injecting the sweet science into the Doom franchise. Every block staggering the toughest of foes, every blow crippling my enemies long enough to deliver the most violent of Dempsey rolls. Who needs to float like a butterfly if you're always stinging like a bee? Doom the Dark Ages is not better than Doom Eternal, but I still couldn't put down the controller. I respect id's stubbornness to not be so stubborn with its gameplay. It's not a sin to not play like Doom Eternal. Just because this isn't my favorite Doom game doesn't mean it won't be someone else's. Doesn't mean I had no fun playing. Doesn't mean I regret my time with it. Doom's not the same anymore. But Doom didn't become the dominant FPS for decades by staying the same. In Doom Eternal, you feel like you're flying. In Doom the Dark Ages, gravity is keeping you down. But it proudly carries that weight. There's still a joy in lugging that weight around once you dig a little deeper to find it. Doom Eternal was change. Wind between the hair, a breath of fresh air. A revolutionary work of FPS euphoria. Doom the Dark Ages is still change. Hard winds blowing just as strange. Not a thunderstorm of revolution, but still a refreshing tide rolling towards my shores. It wasn't until I was ready to accept these changes that I was able to enjoy this game on its own terms.